Book 2 Outline, Code and Chaos. Chapter 1, Aftermath and Adrenaline. The apartment was quiet, but the silence was heavy. Claire leaned back in her chair, eyes scanning the now stable monitors. The adrenaline still pulsed in her veins, leaving her both exhausted and impossibly alert. Every ping, every flicker of light reminded her that the digital battlefield never truly sleeps. Claire, voice low, tense, "It's over, isn't it?" Raven's presence behind her was a calm storm. "Over? For now. But the currents never stop. You know that, Claire." Her fingers brushed against his as she reached for the mouse, and a spark shot through her, not digital, but very real. Goosebumps crawled across her arms, and she had to remind herself to breathe. Claire, breathless, whispering, "You make it impossible to focus." Raven, smile teasing, sultry, "Then stop trying. Let the storm guide you." Adrenaline sharpens the mind and the heart. Claire couldn't help it. She let herself feel it. The mixture of relief, danger, and desire was intoxicating. Her pulse matched the hum of the servers, her thoughts tangled with both the remnants of Evelyn's network and the undeniable pull toward Raven. "Claire, I keep thinking, what if something else is out there? Something bigger." Raven, voice low, intimate, "Then we'll face it. Together. You've learned, you've grown. And I've got you." Every line of code, every heartbeat, every step. The glow of the monitors painted their faces in soft light, highlighting every tension-filled moment, every subtle look that lingered too long. The digital world had quieted, but the storm between them had only just begun. Claire, softly, almost a whisper, "I don't know if I'm ready for whatever comes next." Raven, leaning closer, voice teasing yet tender, "Ready or not, it's coming. And you? You're not facing it alone. Not ever." Chapter 2, Ghosts Resurface. The calm of the aftermath didn't last long. Claire sat at her workstation, sipping coffee she didn't taste, eyes scanning lines of code for anomalies. At first, they were subtle, a misplaced file here, an encrypted message there, ghosts of Evelyn's network still lingering in the shadows. Claire, muttering, "It's like she's watching." Raven's presence was behind her again, shoulder brushing hers as he leaned over the keyboard. "Not she, they. Evelyn may be gone, but she left pieces, loyal remnants, hidden traps. They'll try to exploit any weakness. We need to be faster, smarter." Claire's stomach nodded, but her pulse also thrummed with excitement. Danger had always been the pulse she craved, and now it was back, subtle, but lethal. "Claire, and what if one of them finds me? Finds us?" Raven, voice low, teasing, but firm, "Then I make sure they don't. Focus. You've survived worse than whispers in the code." His fingers hovered over hers for a moment as they typed in tandem, a spark of connection that made her heart stutter. The digital battlefield was no longer just ones and zeros, it was their chemistry, their proximity, their shared risk. "Claire," softly, almost breathless, "you make danger feel different. Like it's thrilling instead of terrifying." Raven, leaning close, whispering in her ear, "Because it's safer with me. And because the thrill is better when it's shared." As another alert pinged across the monitors, Claire realized the truth. The ghosts were everywhere, and the stakes had never been higher. Yet, she also realized something else. Every heartbeat, every glance, every brush of skin with Raven tethered her to courage, to desire, to survival. Chapter 3, A Stranger in the Shadows. The glow of the monitors painted long shadows across the apartment walls. Claire's eyes were glued to the screen, tracing every anomaly, every hidden pattern left in the remnants of Evelyn's network. But tonight, there was something new, a presence she couldn't trace, a whisper in the code that wasn't theirs. Claire, whispering, tense, "Who, or what is this?" Raven leaned over her shoulder, his hair brushing her cheek, sending a shiver down her spine. "Not just a ghost this time. Someone's watching. Someone deliberate. They know we're here, and they want something." Claire's pulse raced. Every instinct screamed danger, but another, deeper instinct, curiosity, urged her forward. "Claire, should we respond?" Raven, smile teasing, sultry, "Respond? Maybe. But carefully. We're not just playing in code anymore, we're playing with fire. And fire burns differently when shared." The message on the screen pulsed again, a cryptic invitation, a challenge, a warning. Its author remained unseen, their intentions cloaked, but the thrill it sparked between Claire and Raven was immediate, undeniable. Claire, breathless, leaning closer to Raven. This feels different. Dangerous. Raven, voice low, intimate, teasing. Exactly. And danger has a way of sharpening everything: your mind, your focus, and your desires. Trust me, Claire. This stranger in the shadows isn't just a threat. They're a test. Claire exhaled slowly, her fingers brushing Raven's as they moved in tandem to decode the message. The thrill of danger fused with the heat between them, a heady mix of adrenaline and temptation. Every line of code, every glance, every subtle touch reminded them both that this world, digital and physical, was unpredictable, intoxicating, and wickedly alive. Chapter 4: Blurred Lines. Claire sat back in her chair, staring at the cascade of code on the monitors. Her mind was a tangle of strategy, fear, and something far more dangerous: desire. The stranger in the shadows was a puzzle she couldn't yet solve, but Raven was a constant spark she couldn't resist. Claire, voice low, tense. I don't know where the threat ends, and whatever this is begins. Raven leaned close, his presence brushing against her shoulder, sending a familiar shiver down her spine. Maybe the line isn't meant to be clear. Sometimes the thrill is in the blur: danger, trust, and desire all intertwined. The question is, do you dare cross it? Claire's fingers trembled over the keyboard, and not from fear alone. The air between them was charged, electric, the chemistry almost tangible. Every glance, every subtle brush of his hand as they worked side by side blurred boundaries she had thought she understood. Claire, I don't know if I can focus with you this close. Raven, smirking, low, sultry. Then don't. Let the tension guide you. Sometimes clarity comes from surrendering control or sharing it. Her pulse quickened as she realized just how much danger, both external and internal, was woven into every glance, every movement. The line between professional partnership and something far more intoxicating was dissolving. And for the first time, Claire didn't want to draw it back. Claire, breathless, whispering, I think I'm starting to like this chaos. Raven, voice soft, teasing, intimate. Chaos has always been your playground. And mine. Let's see how deep it can go together. The monitors hummed around them, the digital storm a backdrop to the tension simmering between them. Outside, unseen forces waited. But in this moment, Claire and Raven existed in the blur: danger, desire, and code all coiling into a single, irresistible pulse. Chapter 5: Digital Seduction. The glow of the monitors reflected off Claire's eyes, wide with focus and something else she couldn't quite name. She leaned closer to Raven, following his instructions as he guided her through a maze of encrypted files. Every word, every movement, carried weight far beyond the digital realm. Raven, low, teasing, keep your eyes on the code, and on me. Precision matters, but so does awareness. Claire's breath caught. Awareness of him was impossible to ignore. The tilt of his head, the way his fingers brushed hers as they typed in sync, the heat of his presence pressing against her. Claire, soft, almost a whisper, you make even instructions feel intimate. Raven, smile, teasing, sultry, intimate? Maybe. But in this world, intimacy and survival often walk the same line. Learn that line, and you'll be unstoppable. As they worked, the air between them became charged. Each shared glance, each subtle brush of skin sent sparks that rivaled the digital alerts popping across the monitors. Claire realized she was learning more than code. She was learning how desire could sharpen focus, heighten awareness, and make even danger feel thrilling. Claire, breathless, teasing back, you're dangerously distracting. Raven, leaning closer, voice low, teasing, good. Distraction can be a tool and a weapon. Use it wisely, Claire. Hours passed in a blur of coding, laughter, whispered teasing, and stolen touches. The digital battlefield was alive, but so was the space between them, a heady mix of trust, flirtation, and simmering passion that neither could deny. Claire, softly, almost caught in the moment, I think I might be addicted to this chaos. And you? Raven, smile dark, intimate, then let's not fight it. Chaos can be our playground, and the game is just beginning. Chapter 6, Pressure Points. The apartment was alive with sound notifications, alerts, and the soft hum of servers filling the air like a pulse. Claire leaned forward, fingers dancing over the keyboard, trying to trace a shadow in the code. Every movement was precise, but her mind kept wandering to Raven, hovering just behind her. Claire, frustrated, I swear. These threads keep disappearing the second I find them. It's like Evelyn's ghosts are taunting me. Raven, smirking, leaning close so Claire could feel her presence, or maybe they're just making sure you earn your victories and your thrills. Claire's pulse jumped. Thrills? With her? Every brush of Raven's shoulder, every low murmur sent electricity down Claire's spine. Claire, half laugh, half whisper, you're impossible. Do you do this to everyone? Raven, teasing, voice sultry, only the ones worth it. Only the ones who can keep up. She shot Raven a sharp glance over her shoulder, heart thudding. Keep up? I'm chasing shadows, and you're distracting me. Raven, leaning closer, whispering, good. Let the distraction sharpen you. Pressure is a tool, Claire. And under pressure, some things reveal themselves. Claire swallowed hard, fingers trembling slightly as she typed faster, racing against both the code and the heat rising inside her. Claire, you're dangerously distracting, you know that? Raven, smile low, teasing, dangerous is my specialty. But you're thriving under it. Don't fight it. Embrace it. An alert pinged suddenly, sharp and insistent. Claire froze, eyes wide. Claire, nervous, whispering, it's them. Someone's probing deeper. Raven, calm, hands brushing hers as she typed, let them come. We've got this. Together. You focus on the code. I'll handle the shadows. Her stomach fluttered, part fear, part desire, all adrenaline. She realized the lines between work and want were melting. Every glance, every touch, every teasing word drew her closer, tangled with both danger and longing. Claire, softly, breathless, I don't know how I'm supposed to focus when you're right there. Raven, voice low, intimate, then don't. Let the chaos guide you. It's our playground, Claire, and the pressure only makes it hotter. The monitors continued to flash warnings, the shadows of Evelyn's remnants lurking, but all Claire could hear was the sound of their synchronized heartbeats, the thrill of danger, and the intoxicating pull of Raven's presence. Chapter 7, Trust Tested. Claire stared at the screen, her hands frozen over the keyboard. A new line of code flickered, unfamiliar, deliberate. Someone had been inside her systems again. Claire, tense, whispering, Raven. Someone's in. They're probing everything. How did they get past the firewalls? Raven appeared behind her in a shadowed sweep, her presence calm but charged. She leaned close, letting her fingers brush Claire's as she moved the cursor. Raven, voice low, teasing, intimate, they're skilled, but not skilled enough. This is why we trust each other. I've got your back. Claire's breath hitched. I want to believe you, I really do, but every time I let my guard down, something happens. Raven, tilting her head, sultry smile, then don't let your guard down. Let me hold it with you. That's what trust is, not abandoning caution, but sharing it, and knowing someone will fight beside you. Claire felt her pulse spike, not from fear, but the intensity of proximity, the heat in Raven's words. She typed furiously, eyes darting between the code and the lingering glances Raven threw her way. Claire, breathless, teasing despite herself, you make being hacked feel almost thrilling. Raven's soft laugh, brushing hair from Claire's face, almost? I can do better than almost. A warning ping sounded sharply. Both froze. The system had flagged something dangerous, but their shared focus made the tension between them more than digital. It was palpable, electric. Claire, nervous, whispering, this could go wrong, quickly. Raven, whispering back, voice intimate, teasing, then we make it go right. Together. Remember, Claire, chaos doesn't scare us. Desire doesn't either, if we navigate it carefully. Their fingers met briefly on the keyboard, eyes locking. In that moment, trust was no longer just about firewalls or code. It was about surrendering a little to the undeniable pull between them. Chapter 8, Close Calls. The apartment was too quiet. Too still. Claire's eyes darted across the monitors, scanning every line of code for anomalies, every alert for threats. But the unease wasn't just digital, it was physical, creeping up her spine like a cold whisper. Claire, tense, whispering something's off. I can feel it. Raven appeared from the shadows, her presence a mix of calm and danger. She rested a hand on the back of Claire's chair, leaning in close enough that their breaths brushed. Raven, voice low, teasing, sultry, relax. Or don't. Sometimes being on edge keeps us alive. Besides, I like watching you work under pressure. Claire swallowed hard, heart thudding, part fear, part desire. You're impossible. You know that? Raven, smile dark, intimate, I'm aware. And you like it? Before Claire could reply, an alert flashed red across the monitors. Someone had breached a deeper layer of her system, a ghost from Evelyn's network, probing, testing, taunting. Claire, voice sharp, panicked, they're in. Again. I can't keep up with this. Raven, calm, brushing fingers over Claire's as they typed in sync, yes, you can. We can. Trust me, Claire. Focus on the code, follow my lead, breathe. We've handled worse. Their fingers collided briefly on the keyboard. Claire felt the spark, danger, and desire entwined. She glanced up at Raven, meeting her intense gaze. Claire, soft, breathless, I don't know how I survive this without you. Raven, voice low, teasing, intimate, you don't. And, maybe, you don't want to. A warning ping sounded again, sharper this time, but Claire didn't flinch. With Raven at her side, guiding, teasing, grounding her, she felt alive in the chaos, alive in the storm of adrenaline and something far more dangerous, desire. Claire, half smile, teasing, you're enjoying this too much, aren't you? Raven, smirk, whispering, only because you make it so thrilling. Chapter 9, Edge of Exposure. The glow from the monitors cast long shadows across Claire's face, highlighting every worry line and flicker of fear. She ran her fingers through her hair, trying to steady herself, but the adrenaline coursing through her veins made it impossible. Every alert, every ping, every anomaly made her pulse race faster. Claire, voice low, anxious, Raven, they're getting closer. I can feel it. One wrong move, Anne. Raven, leaning close, whispering, sultry, confident, one wrong move, yes. But that's why we don't move alone. I'm here. Always. Claire's breath caught as Raven's hand brushed hers while guiding her through the code. The simple touch sent a shiver down her spine. Claire, softly, teasing through tension, you make danger feel dangerous and exciting at the same time. Raven, smile low, intimate, leaning in slightly, because it is. And, because with me, you're never facing it alone. An alert blinked red again, and Claire's heart leapt. This was closer than before, smarter, more precise, Evelyn's network remnants, or someone even more cunning. Claire, frustrated, tense, I don't know if I can keep up. I feel exposed. Raven, voice soft, teasing, grounding, good. Feeling exposed sharpens your instincts. And remember, even the most dangerous exposure can be intoxicating if you've got the right partner. Claire looked at her, heart hammering. The right partner. Her pulse raced for more than the danger, for Raven herself, for the warmth, the teasing, the electricity in the air. Claire, breathless, whispering, you're impossible. And I don't know if I can resist this. Raven, smirking, voice low, sultry, then don't resist. Let it fuel you. Let it sharpen you. Let it pull you closer. The monitors hummed, alerts blinked, shadows danced. Claire realized that being on the edge wasn't just about code or threats. It was about trust, desire, and the pulse-quickening thrill of standing so close to danger together. Chapter 10, Crossing Lines. Claire's fingers flew over the keyboard, tracing an encrypted trail left by Evelyn's remnants. Every alert ping made her pulse spike, every anomaly a fresh jolt of adrenaline. But it wasn't just the danger that had her breathless. It was Raven, close enough that her presence was impossible to ignore. Claire, tense, muttering this code, it's like it's watching me, waiting for a mistake. Raven, smirk, leaning close, voice low and sultry, maybe it is. Or maybe it's testing you, testing us. Either way, we're in this together. Claire shivered at the closeness. Raven's hand brushed hers as they typed in sync, and the spark was undeniable. Claire, half teasing, half frustrated, you make even the most impossible code feel intimate. Raven smiled, teasing, leaning slightly closer, intimate, thrilling, dangerous. That's how I like my chaos. And my partners. The alert blared suddenly, a sharp, insistent tone that made Claire freeze. Evelyn's ghost was closer than ever, probing deeper, trying to break through. Claire, breathless, whispering, we're running out of time. I don't know if I can keep up. Raven, voice low, intimate, brushing fingers along Claire's, you can. And you will. Because we're not just partners in code, we're partners in chaos. And in desire. Claire's chest tightened, awareness of Raven so sharp it was almost unbearable. Her pulse raced, part fear, part attraction, all-consuming heat. Claire, softly, whispering, teasing despite herself, you're dangerous, you know that? Raven, smirk, voice low, teasing, sultry, dangerous is my specialty. But you make it irresistible. As they worked together, Claire realized the lines were blurring, lines between professional focus and personal desire, between trust and temptation, between survival and surrender. Evelyn's remnants were testing them, but so were they, testing how close they could let each other get without losing themselves or their hearts. Chapter 11, First Contact. The cafe was a glitch in the city, too analog for its skyline. Dusty light fell through stained windows, scattering across cracked leather booths and half-dead ferns. Claire sat with her back to the wall, laptop open, her pulse trying not to race as the encrypted clock on her screen hit 0. She'd never seen Raven in person. Only traces, an alias in black code, a voice that dripped through the speakers like smoke and velvet. But now, the door creaked. And she knew. A woman stepped inside wearing a dark coat that caught the light like oil on water. Not just beautiful, dangerous in the way a knife gleams before it cuts. Her hair, dark and sharp as her gaze, fell across one cheek. When her eyes found Claire, it wasn't a look, it was a claim. You order for both of us? Raven's voice was low, amused, like she already knew the answer. Claire swallowed, trying to hide the way her body betrayed her, heat flushing beneath her ribs. I didn't know if you actually ate. Raven smiled, a corner, a secret. You'd be surprised what I consume. She sat opposite, fingers brushing over the table's chipped edge, and in that small motion Claire saw it, control. Every movement calculated, like she'd already mapped this meeting 10 steps ahead. Claire closed her laptop softly. You're real, she murmured, the words escaping before she could catch them. Raven leaned in, resting her chin on her hand. So are you. For now. That for now hit like static. Claire felt her chest tighten. The air between them wasn't safe, it was charged, full of code and want and something she couldn't yet name. Raven's gaze drifted to Claire's laptop. You made progress. I recovered a few fragments, Claire said. Old email chains, receipts, nothing major. It's a start. But next time, Raven tapped 2 fingers against the table, I'll show you what recovery looks like when you stop following rules. Claire's throat went dry. And start following you? Raven smiled like that was inevitable. Exactly. A waiter interrupted with coffee. Neither touched it. They spoke in low tones about encryption layers, erased metadata, ghost firewalls, but underneath every technical word was flirtation disguised as strategy. When Raven reached over, guiding Claire's hand toward the trackpad, her skin was warm. You're tense, she whispered. I don't do this kind of thing often, Claire said, eyes flicking up. You mean hacking? Meeting people who terrify me. For a flicker, Raven's expression softened, admiration, or something close. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The laptop pinged, a file decrypting, lines of code cascading like a waterfall. Old photos began to reappear, her apartment, her cat, her friends before the collapse. Claire's breath hitched. You did this. You did, Raven murmured. I just turned the lights back on. For a moment, they both looked at the screen, a life returning in pixels and ghosts. Raven leaned back, eyes shadowed but gleaming. That's enough for today. You'll start seeing watchers soon. Watchers. You'll know when you feel them. Raven stood. The scent of her lingered, smoke and rain. "Same time tomorrow," she said. "Bring everything you can't bear to lose." And before Claire could reply, Raven was gone, leaving only the ghost of her voice in the hum of the cafe. Claire sat there for a long moment, heart pounding like the first beat of a new code. Chapter 12: Skills Collide. Night spilled over the city like ink, the skyline fractured by neon veins and rain-slick glass. Claire's apartment was a sanctuary of chaos, wires, servers, and half-drained coffee cups. The only light came from her monitors, casting cold blue over her skin as she waited. Then, a ping. Encrypted message. Raven. Raven. Window, not door. Claire, excuse me? Raven, you'll understand in 10 seconds. And Claire did. A soft tap-tap-tap on the balcony glass. She spun, startled. Raven crouched on the railing, soaked from the rain, dark hair dripping, grin sharp as thunder. Claire slid the glass door open. "You break into everyone's homes?" Raven stepped inside, boots silent, eyes glinting. "Only the interesting ones." Her presence filled the small space, heat, scent, danger. Claire tried to look composed, but her pulse betrayed her. "You could have used the door. Doors leave logs. Windows leave questions." Raven's hands moved fast, unrolling cables, connecting drives, booting a black laptop that hummed like a predator waking. "We're going deeper tonight. You said you wanted to learn." "I did," Claire murmured, stepping closer. "Didn't say I wanted to drown." "Then don't blink." Raven began to type, fingers flying, fluid, predatory grace. The screen filled with cascading green. Claire couldn't look away. It was like watching a spell being cast. "How do you even see all that?" Raven smirked. "Same way I see you, pattern recognition." Claire flushed, but didn't look away. "You mean chaos?" "Chaos is only noise until you know what to listen for." Lightning cracked outside, lighting Raven's face for a heartbeat, sharp jawline, focused eyes, the ghost of a scar by her mouth. Claire wanted to reach out, trace it, memorize the map of danger and allure. Raven slid over in her chair, motioning Claire to sit beside her. Their knees brushed, static flared through her veins. "Your turn," Raven said. "I'll break it," Claire protested. "Then I'll fix it. That's how we learn." She guided Claire's fingers on the keys, her touch deliberate, slow, almost teasing. "Type here." "No there." "You're enjoying this," Claire said, voice low. "Absolutely," Raven murmured. "You're fire pretending to be code." The command executed, screen flickered, access granted. Claire gasped, half from surprise, half from the feel of Raven's breath against her neck. "You did it," Raven whispered. "We did. Don't give me credit for what's already yours." For a moment, neither moved. The hum of the servers blurred into the rhythm of their breathing. Then Raven's hand lingered on her wrist, not guiding, not teaching, just touching. Claire turned her head, and they were close, too close. The rain hit the windows harder. Raven's gaze dropped to her lips. "You should sleep," Raven murmured. "Should I? If you don't, you'll start dreaming awake." She unplugged the cables, slid her laptop shut, and in one fluid motion was at the window again. "You're just leaving?" Claire asked, the words too sharp, too honest. "If I stay, you won't sleep at all." And then Raven was gone, the night swallowing her whole, leaving only that charged silence, the kind that hums long after lightning strikes. Claire stood alone, heart thrumming, hands trembling over the keyboard, every keystroke still carrying the memory of Raven's touch. Chapter 13: Small Victories. The storm had passed by morning, but the static in Claire's veins hadn't. Her screens flickered with progress, fragments of code, half-recovered memories, small wins stitched together like fragile constellations. Emails restored. Old photo folders decrypted. And buried deep, a video file labeled echo_03. She hesitated. Her cursor hovered over the play icon. The timestamp read 7 months ago, one day before the collapse. A click. The video came to life in ghostly light, Claire laughing. Music in the background, sunlight through her apartment. She was talking to someone off-screen. Her voice was warmer, unbroken. Then the audio warped. Static. The screen glitched, frame frozen on her own smile, and it cut out. Claire exhaled shakily, eyes stinging. "Who the hell were you talking to?" she whispered. "Raven, stop overanalyzing the ghosts, little flame. Come to the terminal." The message blinked across her encrypted chat before she even finished thinking it. "Claire, you watching me again?" "Raven, always. Not like you mind." She tried not to smile, failed. She typed back. "Claire, you said I should sleep. Didn't exactly work out." "Raven, sleep is optional. Progress is not." Moments later, a knock at the door. Her stomach dropped. "Oh, hell no." But when she opened it, there she was again. Raven. Hood down this time, a lazy smirk curving her lips, 2 coffees in hand. "You really need better locks," she said, stepping inside. "You really need boundaries. Boundaries are firewalls. And I breach those for a living." She handed Claire the coffee, brushed past her, and booted up a drive. "We're close. The Echo Files, that's where your missing months live." Claire sat beside her, fingers tightening on the mug. "You make it sound like a resurrection." "It is. Just digital instead of divine." As the code scrolled, the air between them tightened. Every line of data mirrored the rhythm of their pulse. Raven's focus was razor-sharp. Claire's was anything but. "You watch the way you work?" Claire asked quietly. "Like it's art." Raven didn't look up. "Because it is." Lines of text bloomed, decrypted archives unfurling like petals. Claire gasped softly. "My university thesis," she said, smiling for the first time. "It's still here. Told you we'd find your ghosts." "You keep calling them that." "Because that's what memories are. Data with unfinished business." Raven leaned closer, her voice lowering. "And you, Claire, are the most haunted system I've ever touched." Claire froze. The way she said touched, slow, deliberate, made her entire body forget the cold. "You think that's a compliment?" Claire asked. "It's a warning." Silence pooled. The hum of the servers filled it, low and electric. Then the final file unlocked, a small notification flashing green. "Recovery complete." Raven leaned back. "Told you. Small victories." Claire's breath caught. "Feels bigger than that." "Then celebrate it." "How?" "Close your eyes." She hesitated, but obeyed. The air shifted. Raven's hand brushed her jaw, light testing. A single fingertip traced the line of her face. "This is how we celebrate in my world," Raven whispered. "Small wins. Big sparks." Claire opened her eyes, pulse hammering. "And when we lose?" she asked. "Then we burn something." Raven stood, slipping her drive into her pocket. "Don't let the ghosts distract you, little flame. You've got more to recover." She left the mug on the counter, lipstick smudged like a signature. Claire sank back into her chair, staring at the screen's glow. Recovered files blinked at her, but her mind wasn't on data. It was on the warmth of Raven's touch and the terrifying thought that maybe she didn't want her old life back anymore. Chapter 14, Flirtation in Code. The night bled into the hum of monitors. Claire hadn't slept again. The city outside was static and neon, pulsing like a restless circuit. Raven had vanished hours ago after that infuriating, intoxicating celebration. But she hadn't stayed gone. Her presence still lingered in the code, in the subtle shimmer of encrypted lines that weren't supposed to move like that. A message blinked across the black terminal. "Raven, you left your ports open again, little flame." "Claire, maybe I wanted you to find a way in." Raven, dangerous thing to say to a hacker. Claire, dangerous thing to reply to a woman who learns fast. Her lips curved. Raven always struck first, always with precision, but tonight, Claire wanted to see if she could strike back. "Claire, you missed something in your sweep last night. Hidden subroutine in my recovered files." "Raven, show me." She typed quickly, sent the code over. It unfolded on Raven's side, lines of data forming into words, a digital tease. "Catch me if you can." For a full minute, silence. Then a new line appeared. "Raven, you think you can taunt a woman who once broke into the NSA for fun?" "Claire, you sound proud of that." "Raven, not proud. Just fast." And then, before she could blink, her own screen started shifting. Code rewritten itself in real time, a pulse of moving data spelling out a reply. "Caught you." Claire gasped. Her files, her system, Raven was inside again. You didn't even ask permission, she typed furiously. Raven, you didn't say no. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, heart pounding. Claire, you're enjoying this. Raven, every second. You? Claire bit her lip, fingers hesitating before typing. Claire, maybe I am. That earned her a 3-second pause. Then, Raven, careful, Claire. You flirt like you code raw, beautiful, and barely contained. Claire, you talk like you own the circuits you touch. Raven, only the ones that invite me in. She laughed softly, breathless, nervous, aroused in ways that had nothing to do with machines. Then Raven sent a file. Its title, lesson_3.exe. Claire, what's this? Raven, open it. Trust me. She clicked. Her monitor flooded with lines of shifting, glittering text, code that wasn't functional, but artistic, drawing shapes with syntax. For a moment she thought it was random, until she leaned closer. It formed words. Words written in perfect ASCII precision. You're not just data, Claire. You're the spark that rewrote mine. Her throat tightened. The hum of her computer suddenly felt like a heartbeat. She typed slowly. Claire, you always speak like this to your clients? Raven, only to the ones who make me forget I'm working. Claire's pulse skipped. You should log off before I start believing that. Raven, too late. Check your webcam. Her eyes widened. She turned toward the small lens above her screen, and there she was, Raven, live feed, in low light. Her expression soft, but the look in her eyes, that sharp, knowing heat, said everything words couldn't. You're beautiful when you're trying to look unshaken, Raven murmured, voice sliding through the speakers. But you're not, are you? Claire swallowed. No, she whispered. Good. The feed flickered. Raven leaned in, her gaze a slow burn through the pixels. Then we understand each other. The screen went black. A single final message blinked. Raven, sleep now, little flame. Tomorrow, we hunt the ghost who tried to erase you. Claire sat there long after the feed ended, fingers brushing the edge of the screen. Her pulse wouldn't slow. She wasn't sure which terrified her more, how much Raven could do. Or how much she wanted her to. Chapter 15, External Pressures. Morning came in shades of static gray. The storm had passed, but Claire's apartment still smelled faintly of rain and burnt circuits, her kind of incense. Her terminal flickered to life before she touched it. Lines of encrypted packets cascaded across the display. Not from Raven. Not from her. Someone, something, was knocking on the door of her digital skeleton. Unknown source. We see you rebuilding, Miss Fontaine. Some ghosts should stay buried. She froze. The message evaporated seconds later, overwritten by white noise. Her heart slammed against her ribs. No. No, 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 she whispered, reaching for the keyboard, hands trembling. Don't touch anything, came Raven's voice, calm, deliberate, through the comm feed she'd installed 2 days ago. Claire startled. How long have you been listening? Long enough to hear your panic spike, Raven said smoothly. You've got an intruder sniffing through your back channels. Smart one. The screen split. Raven's face appeared in the corner, hair messy, coffee mug in hand, eyes glinting like mercury. Calm. Always calm. Trace it, Claire said. I need to know who. Already on it. Raven's fingers were a blur, her screens behind her danced like starlight on water. Whoever they are, they've been watching since last night. They waited until I signed off. Claire's pulse stuttered. You think they knew? They knew exactly. Something cold curled under her ribs. Minutes passed in electric silence. Then Raven cursed softly. Corporate signature. Masked through 5 proxy chains, but her brow furrowed. Fragment of an ID key. You won't like this. Tell me. Meritech Systems. Claire's breath hitched. No. They went under 2 years ago. Apparently not, Raven said grimly. They were your employer before the wipe, weren't they? She nodded slowly. Their neural interface project. I was designing adaptive cognition algorithms. Until everything disappeared. Raven leaned closer to her screen, voice dropping. They're not after your data, Claire. They're after you. You're the only one who remembers how that code evolved before it vanished. The silence between them pulsed, thick with realization, and with something else neither of them dared to name. Then another ping. A file transfer request. Source: reinstate access token? Raven's eyes narrowed. Don't touch that. I wasn't going to. Good. Because that's how they get in. A single confirmation click, and your system's theirs again. Claire exhaled shakily. How do you live with this paranoia? Raven gave a half-smile. I don't live with it. I am it. The words hung there, intimate in their darkness. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Claire said, voice low, trying to mask the adrenaline with humor. Raven tilted her head. Maybe a little. Watching you find your footing, it's like watching someone remember they can fly. That earned her a breathy laugh, the kind that trembles at the edges. But Raven's expression softened then real. Listen to me, Claire. Whoever's behind Meritech's Ghost Division, they're not playing games. We'll find them. But until then, don't let my ports stay open, she teased. No, Raven murmured, gaze cutting like silk. Until then, don't let anyone in. Not even me. Not completely. And then she was gone, leaving only the rhythmic pulse of the encrypted line. Claire stared at the reflection in her blackened screen, her own eyes, steady but uncertain. Outside, the world hummed. Inside, the hunt had begun. And somewhere between the fear and the spark, she realized she'd already let Raven in, not through her ports, not through her firewalls, but through the one barrier she swore she'd keep closed. Her heart. Chapter 16. The Fever of Want. The air between them had changed. What once was curiosity had ignited into something feral and impossible to ignore. Claire felt it before she saw it, the way her body hummed whenever Raven was near, as if her very blood remembered something her mind had not yet dared to admit. That night, the storm returned. It came not from the sky, but from within. Raven sat at the edge of the bed, her hair unbound, shadows carving across her shoulders as candlelight trembled. You've been pacing for an hour, she murmured, voice low, almost indulgent. Claire stopped, bare feet on cold stone. Because if I touch you again, I don't think I'll stop. Raven's smirk was soft, dangerous. Then don't stop. The words detonated in Claire's chest. She crossed the space in a heartbeat, every restraint burning away. Her hands cupped Raven's jaw, her lips claiming her with a hunger born of nights denied. The kiss wasn't sweet, it was raw, almost violent with the need to be understood through touch. Raven exhaled into her mouth, fingers slipping beneath the silk of Claire's shirt, mapping the terrain of her back. Their bodies collided with a gasp that turned into a groan, one soul unmaking another in perfect defiance of reason. Say it, Raven whispered against her throat. Claire's voice trembled. That I want you? No, Raven's lips curved, brushing the edge of her ear. Say you're mine. The world blurred. The candles seemed to lean closer, the walls themselves listening. Claire's breath caught, her pulse an anthem. I'm yours, she breathed. But you're mine too. Raven's eyes flared dark fire, unguarded for once. Then there's no going back. Their mouths met again, deeper, slower now, an unspoken vow carved into skin and sound. The storm outside howled in approval, wind rattling the ancient shutters while thunder rolled like a promise. Later, when they finally lay entwined, bodies glistening, hearts trembling in the aftermath, Raven turned her face toward Claire's neck and said quietly, You've changed everything, and I don't know whether to worship you or fear you. Claire brushed her thumb across Raven's cheek. Maybe both. The world outside could fall to ruin. For that night, they were their own gravity, two forces colliding, burning, reborn. Chapter 17. The Pulse Between Worlds. Dawn came slow, fragile as a heartbeat after battle. Claire woke first, her body aching in the most exquisite ways, her mind still half drowned in dreams that smelled of smoke and salt and raven skin. The light filtered through gauze curtains, brushing over their tangled forms like hesitant fingers. Raven stirred beside her. Her hair spilled across the pillow in a dark halo, and for a breath, she looked unearthly, like the storm itself had decided to rest in human form. Claire's voice was a whisper. I didn't think I could feel this, real. Raven's eyes opened, sharp yet softened by the morning. You are real. That's the problem. She traced the curve of Claire's collarbone with one lazy finger. You make me forget what I am. What are you? Claire asked, the words trembling between them like glass about to crack. Raven didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for the dagger lying on the bedside table, the one she always kept within reach. She pressed the flat of the blade against her palm and dragged it slowly. Blood welled, not red, but silver, molten and alive. Claire's breath hitched. That's not human, Raven finished, voice low, almost mournful. I'm bound to the realm between life and what waits after. I was supposed to protect it, not fall for someone in it. Claire sat up, sheets falling around her waist. Then why me? Because your heart hums like the pulse that holds both realms together, Raven said. You don't belong entirely here either, do you? Claire thought of her dreams, the flashes of places she had never been, names that burned on her tongue like forgotten prayers. Sometimes, she admitted, it feels like I'm remembering instead of imagining. Raven leaned in until their foreheads touched. Then maybe we were never meant to meet, only to find each other again. The silver from her wound shimmered, rising from her palm like threads of light. It drifted between them, curling around Claire's wrist. The mark it left behind pulsed once, faint but real. Raven's tone deepened. Now you're marked. The realms will know. And what happens then? Claire whispered. Then everything begins to unravel. The wind howled outside, carrying voices that weren't wind at all. Raven rose from the bed, naked, fierce, and entirely divine. They felt the bond, she said, eyes burning brighter. We need to move before the veil collapses. Claire reached for her clothes, her pulse wild but certain. Where are we going? Raven's smirk returned, dangerous and tender in the same breath. To the only place the realms can't follow us yet. She extended her hand, silver light flickering between her fingers. Claire took it without hesitation. And as the air cracked open like a living wound, they stepped through, hand in hand, into a world painted in shadow and flame. Chapter 18, Close Call. Claire's fingers hovered over the keyboard, sweat prickling her palms. She'd followed Raven's instructions to the letter, yet a blinking warning on her screen made her heart stall. Something, was inside her network again. Claire, breathe. Raven's voice came through the encrypted channel, silky but sharp. Step back. Let me guide you. I thought I had it, Claire admitted, voice trembling. I thought we were safe. Raven's laugh was low, teasing, but there was steel in it. Safe is a myth, love. We survive. Claire watched as Raven's hands moved over her own console remotely, green code cascading like fireflies, isolating the intrusion. Each keystroke was a dance, precise and hypnotic. Claire's pulse raced, not just from fear. The woman's calm control sent sparks skittering across her nerves. You're incredible, Claire breathed, eyes glued to the screen. Not incredible, Raven countered, voice softer now, almost intimate. Alive. Attentive. Dangerous. The intrusion was gone in seconds. The alert vanished, the network secured. Claire let out a shaky laugh, relief and desire colliding in her chest. You okay? Raven's voice dipped, a thread of concern wrapped in warmth. Yes. Claire's throat tightened. But every time you appear in my system, it's like, she swallowed, cheeks flushed. Like you're inside my head too. A pause. Then Raven whispered, maybe I am. Claire's breath hitched. The line between code and chemistry blurred. Every warning light, every alert now carried a pulse, a heat she couldn't ignore. You need rest, Raven said, though her tone suggested she'd never let Claire truly go. And tomorrow, we continue. Continue what? Claire asked, voice husky. Raven's laugh was a promise. Playing with fire and, possibly, each other. Claire stared at her screen long after the connection ended, heart pounding, mind ablaze. The danger was real. The attraction, undeniable. Chapter 19, Digital Chemistry. Claire sat back in her chair, the glow of her screen casting a ghostly light across her face. Raven's presence lingered, not just in the encrypted chat, but in her chest, her pulse, the way her fingers still tingled where she had imagined them tracing the keys alongside her. A ping echoed through the system, a private, encrypted message from Raven. The subject line read, "Can you keep up?" Claire's stomach fluttered, equal parts fear and thrill. She opened it. Step 1. Follow my lead. Step 2. Don't get distracted. A playful wink emoji accompanied the message. Claire's lips curved despite herself. She typed back, Step 3. What exactly am I following? Raven's reply was instant. Step 3. Me. Always me. The words were simple, but in the quiet hum of her apartment, they felt like a pulse, a lure. Claire's heartbeat synced with it, fast, unsteady, alive. She imagined Raven leaning close, hair falling over one sharp eye, fingers brushing her wrist as she guided her through the code. Stop fantasizing, Claire whispered to herself, but her hands betrayed her, flying over the keys, tracing commands with shaky precision. Raven's next message arrived. I can see every line you enter. Every hesitation. Every hesitation tells me you want this, more than the answers. Claire's breath hitched. Her mind spun with danger and desire. She knew she shouldn't feel this way, couldn't. Every spark of attraction was a liability. And yet, the pull was magnetic, undeniable. You're impossible, she typed, cheeks warm, fingers trembling. Raven's response appeared almost immediately. I prefer irresistible. A shiver ran down Claire's spine. The thrill of their digital dance, the flirtation encoded in every line of text and every command, sent heat pooling low in her belly. She imagined their next encounter, Raven so close she could feel the brush of her breath, the sharp scent of leather and perfume. And then the screen flickered an alert. A trace of intrusion somewhere deep in her network. The danger reminded Claire sharply of the world outside their chemistry, outside the code. Raven's calm voice broke through the tension. Focus. Me. Step 1. We're not done yet. Claire's hands steadied, mind sharpening. Her pulse still pounded, her body still hummed with the residue of imagined closeness. This was their war and their playground. Every line of code they wrote together was a step closer to reclaiming her life and closer to losing herself entirely to Raven. And deep down, Claire knew the most dangerous virus wasn't lurking in her files. It was the woman on the other side of the screen. Chapter 20, Reconstructing the Past. Claire stared at the recovered folder, fingers frozen above the keyboard. It was real. Every file, every document, a shard of her erased life, resurrected in digital light. She felt a tremor of triumph, but also a creeping, guilty thrill. Raven had guided her here, hand steady, eyes unseen but present, and every step had burned through her self-control. Found something, she typed quickly to Raven, heart hammering. Show me, came the reply almost immediately, the words taut with anticipation, with challenge. Claire opened the first document. Her old emails, her saved photos, memories she hadn't touched in years, scrolled across the screen. Each one was a whisper from a life that felt half hers, half lost. And then her gaze landed on a folder marked, Financials, Sensitive. Her pulse spiked. This wasn't just old data. This was leverage, a key to understanding why her identity had been erased in the first place. I've got it, she typed, trying to keep her fingers from shaking. This could explain everything. Raven's reply was instant, teasing, and undeniably intimate. Everything, huh? Careful, Claire. Sometimes knowing too much is dangerous. And sometimes, irresistible. Claire's stomach twisted. Irresistible. The word hovered between them, electric and heavy. She imagined Raven leaning close, the faint scent of her perfume, or was it the thrill of the hunt itself, wrapping around her? She shook herself, shaking off the daydream just enough to focus. Opening the files, she began to piece together a timeline, unauthorized transfers, strange logins, cryptic notes embedded in metadata. Someone had planned this, planned her erasure with precision. Who would? She started typing, then stopped, the words tangling in her throat. Let me show you, Raven replied, almost coaxing, almost commanding. Trust me. Step back. Watch. Claire hesitated a moment, then let herself be guided. Raven's instructions were precise, minimal, leaning over the code with unseen hands, pulling strings behind the veil of the system. Every keystroke was deliberate, controlled, intimate. Claire felt it in her chest, in her breath, in the way her pulse quickened at Raven's unseen presence. "Claire," Raven murmured, voice softer now, almost a caress over the encrypted channel. "Look here." Claire leaned in. On her screen, the connections mapped themselves: emails, financial records, IP addresses, a network pointing to a hidden entity, a puppet master she hadn't seen coming. Her breath hitched. "Oh my God." Raven's chuckle was low, dangerous. "You didn't think I'd let you face this alone, did you?" Claire's fingers brushed the mouse, then paused, aware of the tension humming between them, as if the air itself carried Raven's heat. I don't know if I can do this without you." A pause, almost imperceptible. Then, "Good. Because you won't have to. Not unless you want to." Claire exhaled shakily, exhilarated, terrified, and completely undone. The files on the screen didn't just reconstruct her past, they illuminated the road ahead, with Raven by her side, and a spark between them threatening to ignite fully. For the first time since the collapse, Claire felt like she might reclaim her life and maybe, just maybe, surrender a little to desire she hadn't expected to survive. Chapter 21: The First Lie. Claire stared at her screen, jaw tight. A notification blinked insistently, a file modified, a timestamp she didn't recognize. Her fingers trembled as she traced the digital breadcrumbs. This wasn't Raven's work. She typed quickly into the encrypted chat, "Raven, did you change this?" A pause. Then Raven's reply appeared, "Not me. I swear." Claire's heart both leapt and sank. She wanted to believe her, wanted to trust every precise, sultry word that had pulled her closer in the past days. But doubt had its claws now, sharp and unrelenting. "Then who?" Claire muttered under her breath, leaning closer to the screen. "If not you, then who has been here?" Raven's reply came slowly, deliberately, as if savoring the tension. "Someone clever. Someone dangerous. And yes, it's getting personal." Claire's pulse raced, a mix of fear and desire. She felt herself leaning toward the screen as if she could reach through the encryption and touch Raven, feel her heartbeat match her own. "Personal how?" she typed, every letter shaking. "You'll see," came the reply, soft, teasing, and yet full of warning. "But don't look away from me. Not yet." Claire's fingers hovered over the keyboard, caught between fury and attraction. The first lie, the first fracture of trust, had appeared, but instead of recoiling, she found herself drawn closer. Drawn to Raven's danger, to her control, to the sultry power that seemed to hang over every command and every message. A sudden ping startled her. An alert on a recovered account, a rogue login attempt, subtle but unmistakable. Claire's stomach clenched. The external threat was real, closer than she'd imagined. And yet, so was Raven. "Help me," Claire typed, voice barely above a whisper. "Always," Raven replied instantly, the word carrying warmth, teasing, and a hint of something unspoken between them. Claire leaned back, exhaling shakily. The lie had shaken her, but so had the way Raven's presence made her feel. Safe and yet electrified. The line between ally and desire had never felt so perilously thin. And deep down, Claire knew the first lie was only the beginning of a much darker game. Chapter 22: Risky Moves. Claire's fingers hovered over the keyboard, hesitating. Every command she typed now felt like a gamble. One misstep, one misclick, and the shadowy entity behind her erased life could strike again. "Are you sure about this path?" she typed to Raven, heart pounding. "I've mapped it. But yes, it's dangerous," came the reply, sharp, confident, with that silky undercurrent that always made Claire's stomach clench. "Risk is part of the game. And you? Are you ready?" Claire's pulse jumped. She imagined Raven leaning close, hair falling just over one perfect eye, fingers brushing her own across the keys, guiding her through the labyrinth. The thought made her breath catch and her body ache. I'm ready," Claire typed, though the word barely steadied her nerves. The next hour passed in a blur of code, encrypted tunnels, and digital traps. Claire followed Raven's instructions to the letter, every line of code a precise step in the dangerous dance they performed. Alerts popped up, false alarms, carefully laid decoys, but Raven guided her, teasing and coaxing in equal measure. Slow down. Focus on the pattern, Raven typed. And remember, every distraction is intentional. Claire bit her lip, trembling. Every word from Raven was a spark. Every command executed was a connection. She realized she wasn't just tracing the erasure anymore. She was tracing herself, her fear, her desire, through Raven's meticulous guidance. A sudden ping. A subtle intrusion. Someone else was probing her network, clever and careful, but not careful enough. Claire's stomach twisted in adrenaline and fear. Got it? Raven asked, her tone deceptively soft. Or, do you want me to show you, personally? Claire swallowed hard. I've got it. Good, Raven replied, the word dripping with promise and danger. But don't forget, every step we take puts us closer to them. And closer to each other. Claire's fingers paused mid-command. Her pulse thundered, and a flush crept over her skin. Desire and danger had become indistinguishable. Every click, every trace of code, brought them closer to uncovering the mastermind and closer to surrendering to the undeniable pull between them. The screen blinked, lights dancing across the room. Claire exhaled shakily, exhilarated, terrified, and consumed by the heat of the chase and the woman leading her through it. Next move, she typed, heart racing, eyes glued to the screen. Together came Raven's reply, and Claire's stomach fell with anticipation, every nerve screaming with a dangerous, intoxicating thrill. Chapter 23, Conflicted Heart. Claire leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. The room around her felt smaller, tighter, charged with a current she couldn't quite name. Every ping of the system, every flicker of a notification, seemed amplified, not just because of the external threats, but because of Raven. She couldn't focus. Her mind kept returning to the curve of Raven's jaw, the slow, deliberate way she typed, the subtle teasing in her messages. Every line of code, every instruction carried an undercurrent of something forbidden, something intoxicating. Claire. Raven's voice echoed softly through the headset, precise, silky. Claire blinked, startled. Yeah, I'm here, she replied, fingers hovering over the keys. Good. Because we need to move, Raven said. There was an edge now, a quiet danger beneath the calm. And you need to focus. Claire swallowed, a flush rising to her cheeks. Focus. That was the problem. Every command she typed felt like a negotiation between logic and desire. She wanted to follow Raven's lead, to trust her implicitly, but every shadow in the network, every trace of intrusion, reminded her that danger wasn't just digital. It was emotional too. Claire started, but stopped. She couldn't put into words what she felt. Fear, longing, attraction, doubt, all tangled together in a mess she couldn't unravel. Raven's tone softened, teasing and intimate at once. You're conflicted. I can see it in every hesitation, every delay. Let me guess, you want to trust me, but you're terrified. Claire's fingers froze. She imagined Raven leaning close, her presence pressing in, and for a fleeting second, she could almost feel her warmth, smell her scent. It's complicated, she admitted, voice barely a whisper. Complicated is my favorite kind of challenge, Raven murmured. And maybe. I like it when you struggle. Keeps you sharp and honest. Claire's pulse thrummed in her ears. Sharp, honest. Desire and danger collided in a way that left her dizzy, and she realized she didn't want to hide it. Not anymore. I don't know if I can do this without you, she typed finally, the words trembling. A pause. Then Raven's reply, good. Because you won't have to. Not unless you want to. And believe me, Claire, I'll be here, through the chaos and the fire. But you have to choose. Trust me, or burn alone. Claire exhaled, a mixture of relief and longing coursing through her. Every command she typed, every step she followed in the digital hunt, felt weighted now, not just with the risk of discovery, but with the heat of what they shared. The line between ally and temptation had blurred completely, leaving her heart, her desire, and her focus tangled in Raven's orbit. The screen blinked. The digital battlefield waited. But Claire knew one truth above all. The most dangerous thing wasn't the external threat, it was the pull she felt toward the hacker who had captured her life and her heart. Chapter 24, Breakthrough. Claire's eyes burned from hours staring at the screen. Every line of code, every trace, every digital breadcrumb had brought her here, closer than ever to reclaiming the pieces of a life someone had tried to erase. And then it appeared, a folder she hadn't expected. One she had almost given up on. Its icon glimmered, almost like a secret waiting just for her. She hesitated. For a moment, she let herself imagine Raven beside her, the soft click of her boots on the floor, the hum of her presence filling the room. Every nerve in Claire's body tensed with anticipation and desire. Found something, she typed quickly, fingers trembling. Show me, came Raven's reply, teasing and precise. I'm waiting. Claire clicked the folder open. Inside were documents, photos, emails, proof of her life before it had been stolen. Her pulse raced. She picked up a file at random and gasped softly. Financial records, old messages, personal data she hadn't thought would survive. This is everything, Claire typed, almost breathless. Everything. Raven's response carried a soft chuckle, almost a whisper. Or just enough to keep you wanting more? Claire's lips parted, heat rushing through her. Enough to know I can fight back. Enough to know someone wanted me gone. But I don't know who. Raven's reply came immediately, teasing and dangerous. Then we find out. Together. You, me, and this trail they left behind. Her chest tightened, but not just from adrenaline. She imagined Raven leaning over her shoulder, warm breath brushing her ear as she whispered instructions. The thought made her shiver. Desire, fear, and triumph tangled together, sharp and exhilarating. Claire dove into the data, reconstructing accounts, tracing logins, uncovering anomalies. Each small victory sparked a thrill, but the biggest rush was knowing Raven was guiding her every step, unseen yet undeniably present. A ping startled her. An alert. Someone else was probing again. The threat was real, but so was the partnership, the connection, the dangerous intimacy between them. Ready for the next step? Raven asked, her words teasing, dangerous, intimate. Claire's pulse surged. She typed back without hesitation, always. Lead the way. And in that moment, she knew they were unstoppable together. The breakthrough wasn't just in the data, it was in the bond between them, fragile but fierce, charged with tension, desire, and the thrill of the hunt. Chapter 25, Crossing the Threshold. Claire sat back in her chair, eyes fixed on the screen, heart pounding. The fragments of her erased life were coming together, piece by piece, yet the thrill and the danger was far from over. Every digital trail they followed led deeper into a web of manipulation, and every ping, every alert reminded her of the invisible eyes tracking her. We're close. Raven's voice came through the headset, smooth, confident, magnetic. Closer than they think, closer than you realize. Claire's pulse quickened. She imagined Raven leaning in, hair falling across one perfectly arched brow, the intensity of her gaze making her chest ache. Every instruction Raven gave carried a weight, part guidance, part temptation. Are you sure about this path? Claire typed, though the words trembled with both fear and desire. Every path worth taking has risk, Raven replied, teasing and precise. And every risk is sweeter with the right partner. Claire's breath hitched. The threshold she was crossing wasn't just digital. It was emotional, dangerous, intoxicating. Every hesitation, every doubt melted under Raven's gaze, under the pull that had been building since their first contact. Her fingers flew over the keyboard, following Raven's instructions with a fierce focus, reconstructing accounts, tracing anomalies, uncovering traces of the real threat. And then it clicked, the first unmistakable signature of the external antagonist. Not Raven. Someone else. Someone clever, calculating, watching from the shadows. There, Claire whispered, pointing to the line of code that screamed danger. Good, Raven murmured, her voice low, intimate, almost a caress through the headset. You did it. And you did it with me. Together. That's the difference. Claire's chest rose and fell. The heat between them was unbearable. She imagined the brush of Raven's fingers over her own, guiding, teasing, protective. The digital battlefield had become a stage for something far more dangerous and far more irresistible. I trust you, Claire typed, the words heavy with vulnerability and desire. Good, Raven replied, voice velvety and sharp at once. Because you'll need me. And I'll need you. We cross the threshold together, or we fall alone. Claire exhaled, heart thrumming with adrenaline and longing. She had accepted the risk, embraced the danger, and surrendered, just a little, to the woman who had stolen not just her digital life, but her very heartbeat. The external threat loomed, dark and insidious, but so did the connection between them. And for the first time, Claire understood, crossing the threshold wasn't about fear. It was about desire, trust, and the fiery pull of two forces colliding, unpredictable, unstoppable, and utterly alive. Chapter 26, Shadows Closing In. The apartment felt smaller, tighter, charged with an energy Claire could almost taste. Outside, the city hummed obliviously, unaware that every device, every network, every trace of Claire's reconstructed life was under silent siege. Shadows were closing in, and this time, it wasn't just digital. Raven's presence over the headset was a steady anchor, silky and precise. They're watching, Claire. Every step you take. Every file you touch. Be ready. Claire's fingers flew across the keyboard, executing Raven's instructions with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Her pulse thundered, but it wasn't just the danger, it was the proximity of Raven in her mind. She imagined her there, hair perfectly in place, eyes dark and calculating, every glance and subtle movement drawing her in. Do you ever rest? Claire asked, voice barely above a whisper, though she knew Raven could hear every nuance. Rest? Raven's reply was a soft chuckle, dangerous and intimate. Rest is a luxury for people who aren't hunting shadows or playing with fire. Claire shivered. Fire. Dangerous. The words wrapped around her, coiling through her veins. She couldn't distinguish the adrenaline from the longing, the fear from the heat that had been building between them for weeks. Suddenly, an alert flashed across the screen, a breach, subtle, insidious, someone probing her network in ways even Raven hadn't predicted. Claire froze, heart hammering. There inside, Raven murmured, calm but sharp. Close, careful, now. Claire's hands trembled as she followed Raven's guidance, patching the breach, tracing the signature. Her pulse and Raven's voice entwined in a rhythm both terrifying and intoxicating. She was a heartbeat away from panic, and a heartbeat away from surrendering entirely to the magnetic pull of the hacker who had become more than an ally. You're holding yourself back, Raven whispered suddenly, almost a tease, almost a command. Let go, if only a little. Trust me. Claire's breath hitched. The world outside the screen, the shadows, the threats, the digital hunters faded for a moment, leaving only the warmth and danger of Raven's presence. She typed, guided, daring herself to act without hesitation, to move beyond fear, beyond doubt. The breach sealed. The threat pushed back into the dark. The screen blinked, lines of code slowly returning to normal, but Claire didn't move. Her pulse thrummed, her chest tight with a dangerous mixture of relief, exhilaration, and the ache of desire. Well, Raven's voice said softly, almost a purr, we survived. Together. But don't get comfortable. The real fire is coming. Claire swallowed hard, feeling the truth of the words deep in her bones. Shadows were closing in, yes, but so was the undeniable force between her and Raven, scorching, untamed, and impossible to ignore. She realized, with a mixture of fear and longing, that she didn't just want to survive the storm, she wanted to be consumed by it. Chapter 27, Digital Dance. The glow of the monitors painted Claire's face in pale light, highlighting the tension in her jaw, the rapid flutter of her eyelashes. Fingers flying across the keyboard, she executed small hacks under Raven's guidance, tracing fragments of her stolen identity while every nerve hummed with anticipation. Careful with that node, Raven's voice purred through the headset, silky and teasing. One wrong move, and we alert them. Claire bit her lip, a thrill coiling through her. I know what I'm doing, she typed, though her pulse betrayed her. Do you now? Raven's laugh was low, intimate, a brush of warmth against her skin she couldn't feel, but imagined in every shiver that ran down her spine. Show me then. Impress me. Claire leaned closer to the screen, scanning lines of code, tracing signals, executing commands with care and precision. Every successful hack was a small victory, yes, but also a tiny spark in the electricity that had been crackling between them since their first encounter. Not bad, Raven murmured, voice softer now, almost velvety. You're learning, but don't forget, every move has a rhythm. Follow it, or it will follow you. Claire's lips curved into a half-smile, fingers pausing mid-keystroke. And what if I want to lead the dance? She typed, heart thundering with more than just adrenaline. There was a pause. Then Raven's reply, then you risk stepping on my toes. But maybe, that's a risk worth taking. The tension between them was a living thing, palpable even through the digital divide. Every instruction, every subtle correction, every teasing remark was a step in a dance that was part code, part chemistry, and entirely intoxicating. Claire's confidence grew with each small hack she executed, but so did the pull toward Raven, sharp and undeniable. She imagined the way Raven's lips would curve at that mischievous grin, the subtle arch of her brow if she knew Claire was challenging her, provoking her in more ways than one. Dance with me, Claire, Raven whispered suddenly, words like a shiver down her spine. Not just in the code, in this moment. Claire exhaled slowly, a rush of heat flooding her. Her fingers hovered over the keys, every thought caught between duty, danger, and the forbidden attraction that had become impossible to ignore. Lead, she typed, heart hammering, but be ready. I won't be an easy partner. I wouldn't want you to be, Raven replied, a murmur that felt like fire across her skin. Not when the dance is just beginning. Chapter 28, The First Face of the Enemy. The glow of Claire's screens cast long shadows across the apartment, the room thick with tension. Every alert, every anomaly she traced seemed alive, whispering, watching, waiting. And then she saw it, the first unmistakable trace, the signature of the real enemy. Not Raven. Not a glitch. Someone or something calculated, cold, and deliberate. Her breath caught. Claire. Raven's voice cut through the static in her mind, soft yet precise. What is it? She hesitated, staring at the code, the timestamps, the hidden fingerprints in her restored files. The truth was undeniable. A corporate insider, or worse, a rogue AI designed to manipulate and exploit her every digital footprint. It's someone watching. Someone who wanted me gone, she whispered, the words trembling as they left her lips. Show me. Raven's tone was steady, calming, yet underneath it, a hunger, the same magnetic intensity that had drawn Claire in from the beginning. Claire's fingers flew across the keyboard, isolating the rogue signatures, tracing patterns that revealed more than she ever wanted to see. The enemy wasn't faceless anymore. They had a digital fingerprint, a presence. It was terrifying, exhilarating. I see them, she said, voice low, almost reverent. And I can't stop thinking about how close this feels. Like they're right here. Raven's laugh was soft, teasing, yet sharp with intensity. Good. Fear sharpens you. And fear fuels desire. Don't let it paralyze you, Claire. Let it make you precise. Claire exhaled, heart hammering. Every warning ping, every trace of intrusion heightened her senses, but also stoked the fire Raven had ignited inside her. She imagined Raven leaning over her shoulder, fingers brushing against hers in a phantom touch, the heat of that presence spreading through her veins. We can stop them, Raven murmured, low and intimate, but we do it together. And when we do, I'll be right here. Claire's chest tightened, part adrenaline, part longing. The stakes had never been higher: digital life, personal safety, and every secret she had fought to recover hung in the balance. But even as fear gripped her, she couldn't deny the pull toward Raven, a force as real and dangerous as the enemy they were tracing. The enemy was no longer a ghost. They had a face, a method, a cold and calculated purpose. And Claire realized surviving this would demand every skill, every ounce of courage, and every heartbeat racing for the woman who had become her anchor in the storm. Chapter 29: Crossing Lines. The apartment was thick with tension, the screens casting a blue-white glow that made shadows dance along the walls. Claire's pulse thrummed in time with the alerts pinging across her monitors. Tonight, Raven was pushing her harder, teaching her risky moves, showing her how to trace signals that could expose them both if miscalculated. "Claire, this is delicate," Raven's voice floated in through the headset, low and teasing. "One wrong move, and it's not just your system on the line." Claire swallowed, a shiver running down her spine at the undertone in Raven's voice. "I can handle it," she typed, though inside, adrenaline and something far more intimate tightened her chest. "I know you can," Raven murmured. "But can you handle me?" Claire's fingers paused mid-keystroke. The comment was bold, teasing, electric. She imagined Raven leaning closer, dark hair cascading perfectly, lips curved into that infuriating, seductive smirk. She could almost feel the heat of Raven's presence pressing against her, pulling her into an orbit she wasn't ready to resist. "Focus," she whispered to herself, shaking off the sudden flush, though the heat lingered. The mission first. But as she executed Raven's instructions, tracing a particularly sensitive node through layers of encryption, her thoughts betrayed her. Each correction from Raven, the soft, precise instructions, the subtle teasing, made her ache in a way no firewall or code could block. "Careful, Claire," Raven breathed, almost a whisper now. "You're dancing on the edge, but I like it." Claire exhaled, a mixture of frustration and longing coiling tight in her chest. Her hands moved faster, smarter, daringly. They were no longer just restoring her identity, they were moving in sync, a dangerous ballet of code and chemistry. The trace led them to an anomaly, a thread that could expose the antagonist, but taking at risk revealing their position. Claire hesitated, heart hammering. "It's too risky," she whispered. "Or it's perfect," Raven countered, silk and steel in her tone. "Sometimes the edge is the only way forward. You trust me, don't you?" Claire's breath caught. Trust. Desire. Fear. Every nerve in her body screamed, yes, even as logic warned otherwise. Her fingers hovered for a heartbeat, then she plunged forward, executing the risky move, letting herself lean fully into the thrill and into Raven's command. The screens blinked, the trace initiated. Heart pounding, Claire realized that for the first time, danger wasn't just about digital walls, it was about the irresistible pull between them, a force as potent and risky as the hack itself. "You're impressive," Raven said softly, voice low and intimate. "And maybe a little reckless. Exactly what I like." Claire's lips curved into a small, daring smile. "Don't tempt me," she whispered, though every fiber of her being felt drawn closer to the woman guiding her, teasing her, teaching her how to cross lines she hadn't even known existed. The digital thread held steady. Success. Relief washed through Claire, but beneath it, a smoldering tension, a heat that neither code nor caution could ever extinguish. Chapter 30: Betrayal or Test. The glow from the monitors reflected in Claire's eyes, wide and wary. Every alert, every anomaly set her nerves on edge. They had followed the trace from the last risky maneuver, and now a new signal appeared, one that made her stomach knot. "Claire, something's off." Raven's voice cut through the tension, calm yet edged with sharp focus. "Stop. Don't touch that file." But curiosity and fear had her hovering over the command. "Raven, I need to know what it is. We've come too far to back down." "Trust me," Raven murmured, low and intimate. "This isn't a mistake, but it's a test, maybe even a trap." Claire swallowed hard. A trap. The word ignited a shiver down her spine, a mix of adrenaline and something far more dangerous. Raven's tone had shifted, not teasing, Not playful, but protective, sharp, and suffused with heat. The warning wasn't just about code, it was about her. She hesitated, fingers hovering. Every instinct screamed to trust Raven, but doubt crept in. Could she really be trusted? The file pulsed on the screen, inviting, taunting. Claire leaned back, heart racing, and whispered under her breath, "I can't. I won't. Not without you." "Good," Raven replied, the soft hiss in her tone sending a thrill through Claire. "Then let me guide you." With careful steps, Claire traced the signals Raven instructed, revealing a carefully orchestrated setup, a digital snare designed to mislead. The trap was clever, professional, but it wasn't Raven's design. "It's not you," Claire breathed, realization dawning. "It's them. The real antagonist." Raven's voice softened, almost a whisper that brushed across her thoughts. "Exactly. You're learning to see the difference between danger and deception. Between me and them." Claire felt the tension between them spike. The fear of the trap, the rush of success, and the undeniable draw toward Raven, electric, intimate, unrelenting, mixed into a heady cocktail she could neither resist nor escape. "You make it too easy to follow you," Claire admitted, voice trembling with a mixture of frustration and desire. Raven chuckled softly, a sound like velvet sliding across steel. "And yet you do, every time." The trap was neutralized. Relief swept through Claire, mingled with lingering heat. The true antagonist's hand was clearer now, and so was the line between them and Raven, danger outside, desire inside, both impossible to ignore. "Next time," Raven whispered, close enough that Claire felt it even across the distance, "we step closer, together. And I promise, you'll survive it, with me." Claire's breath hitched, the edge of danger and the pull of forbidden attraction merging into one irrepressible, searing certainty. Whatever came next, she would not face it alone. Chapter 31: Heart and Code. Claire's fingers hovered over the keyboard, her pulse syncing with the rhythm of incoming data. Raven was beside her, dark eyes scanning every line, her presence a shadowed heat against Claire's skin. The apartment felt smaller somehow, charged with tension and anticipation. "Here," Raven murmured, leaning close, her lips brushing against Claire's ear as she whispered instructions. The warmth of her breath sent shivers down Claire's spine. "Follow my lead. Don't rush it." Claire's hands moved, guided by Raven's calm yet precise direction. Each keystroke was deliberate, a tiny victory as fragments of her stolen digital life reappeared. But the adrenaline wasn't just in the code. It was in the closeness, the brush of hair against shoulder, the subtle heat of Raven's body that made concentration almost impossible. "You're incredible," Claire breathed, watching Raven's fingers dance across the keyboard. I didn't know I could do this." Raven's dark eyes flicked up, capturing hers. "You can. You're more capable than you give yourself credit for. And it's more fun when I'm right here." The words were teasing, intimate, and the touch of Raven's hand guiding hers over a particularly tricky sequence made Claire's heart stutter. It was more than teaching, it was a dance, a game of trust and desire, each instruction a whispered caress. Claire leaned into it, letting the thrill of their collaboration pull her deeper. I think I'm starting to understand. And I think I'm starting to want this. You." Raven's lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. "Careful, Claire. Desire is dangerous in our line of work, but then, so is courage. And you've got both." The code continued to unfold, lines of recovered data interweaving with moments of stolen glances and subtle touches. Every success was a victory, every shared smile a spark. The boundary between digital intimacy and physical attraction blurred, leaving Claire dizzy with exhilaration. "I trust you," she whispered, almost a confession, "more than I should." Raven's hand lingered over hers, fingers brushing lightly, a promise of more than guidance. "Then don't hold back. Not here. Not now. Not ever." The night stretched around them, screens glowing, keys clicking, hearts racing. Each line of code brought them closer, each fragment recovered a testament to their growing bond. Claire realized that in the midst of chaos, she had found a rhythm, a partner, and a heat that no firewall could block. And as their eyes met, electric and intimate, Claire knew that trust, desire, and danger were all entwined, beautiful, intoxicating, and unstoppable. Chapter 32: Tracing the Mastermind. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the servers and the rhythmic tapping of their keys. Claire's eyes flicked between screens, tracing faint digital footprints, while Raven stood close behind, her presence a tantalizing shadow along Claire's side. "There," Raven whispered, leaning over Claire, dark hair brushing against her cheek. Her lips were close enough that Claire could feel the warmth of her breath. "That signature, see? It doesn't belong to me. Someone else left it, someone meticulous." Claire's pulse quickened. The trace was subtle, hidden beneath layers of encryption, but with Raven guiding her, she could follow it. Each step they took closer to the source made her heart race, not just from the danger, but from Raven's nearness, from the intoxicating brush of her confidence and skill. "I can see it. I can follow it," Claire breathed, leaning into Raven's side for a fraction of a second longer than necessary. She felt the subtle press of Raven's body, the quiet warmth that made focus both easier and impossible. Raven's fingers hovered over Claire's hands, guiding them on the mouse. "Careful, this network is fragile. One wrong move and we tip them off. But I trust you more than anyone." The words sent a shiver down Claire's spine. Trust, desire, danger. They were tangled together, each line of code a step closer to uncovering the true antagonist, and each glance, each subtle touch, a pull toward something forbidden. I think I can pinpoint them," Claire whispered, voice low and shaky with excitement and something more intimate. I just need you here." Raven's hand slid over hers, firm but teasing. "Always, Claire. Always here. And I'm not letting anyone touch you while we finish this." With Raven's guidance, Claire traced the hidden architecture of the antagonist's operations: shell servers, encrypted proxies, digital traps laid to mislead and intimidate. But together, they navigated the web with grace and precision, uncovering fragments of files, financial transactions, and coded messages that revealed the mastermind's reach. Claire's chest tightened with a mix of triumph and exhilaration. Every recovered clue was proof they were closing in, but also proof that the danger was far from over. Her fingers brushed Raven's deliberately, or maybe accidentally, and Raven's low laugh, dark and warm, vibrated through her chest. "You're reckless," Raven murmured, voice heavy with amusement and something that made Claire ache. "And I like it." Claire's lips curved into a daring smile. "And you? You're impossible to resist." They worked side by side, a perfect tandem of skill and attraction, unraveling the antagonist's infrastructure piece by piece. The night stretched on, charged with the tension of discovery and the undeniable magnetism between them. By the time the last thread of the trace was mapped, Claire's pulse was still racing, not just from the victory, but from the dangerous intimacy shared in every look, every brush of hands, every whispered instruction. "We're close," Raven whispered, leaning near enough for Claire to feel the brush of her lips against her ear. "And when we finish this, I'm not letting go." Claire swallowed, heat pooling low and deep, a fierce thrill blending with fear and anticipation. The mastermind was exposed, the path forward clear, and somewhere beneath the adrenaline, she realized she was already falling for both the mission and the woman guiding her through it. Chapter 33: The Shadow Revealed. Claire's fingers hovered above the keyboard, frozen for a heartbeat, as the final decrypted file loaded. The signature was unmistakable. Her stolen life hadn't been random, it had been orchestrated, carefully manipulated from the shadows by someone with influence, precision, and cold intent. "It's them," she whispered, disbelief and fury lacing her voice. Raven's presence was at her back, warm and commanding, yet careful not to crowd her. "I see it. I told you. The erasure wasn't my doing," she murmured, the low timbre of her voice sending goosebumps down Claire's spine. "And now you see the truth." Claire's hands trembled slightly as she scrolled through the evidence, corporate emails cloaked in layers of encryption, Financial transactions routed through shell accounts and digital fingerprints impossible to miss once revealed. This wasn't just a hack, it was a meticulously planned power play. They knew exactly what they were doing, what they could take from me, Claire said, voice tight raw. Rage mingling with fear. Raven's hand brushed lightly against her arm, a grounding weight. You're stronger than they knew. And we're going to fix this together. Claire turned slightly, catching Raven's gaze. Those dark eyes, intense and unflinching, held a promise that went beyond digital battles. They held fire, danger, and something undeniably magnetic. Her chest tightened, heart hammering, not just from the revelation, but from the woman standing beside her. I can't believe I almost doubted you, Claire admitted, her voice barely more than a breath. Raven's lips curved in a slow, knowing smile. Doubt? That's natural. But you see now, we're on the same side. Always. The tension between them shifted, thick and electric, as they stared at the screens together. Every detail of the antagonist's plan was laid bare, and every ounce of fear and adrenaline pulsed through Claire. Yet, even amidst the fury and urgency, her mind couldn't ignore the pull toward Raven, the warmth, the danger, the impossible attraction that had been simmering since their first encounter. So, what now? Claire asked, her voice firm but tremulous. Now. Raven leaned closer, close enough that Claire could feel the brush of her lips near her ear, her scent intoxicating. Now we finish this. And then, you and I decide what we do with all this heat between us. Claire shivered, not from the cold glow of the monitors, but from the charged energy between them. The antagonist was exposed, the stakes higher than ever, and the line between danger and desire blurred deliciously. Let's end this, Claire whispered, resolve threading through the tension. Her fingers returned to the keyboard, but her awareness lingered on Raven, their rhythm, their proximity, the intoxicating promise of what awaited after the storm. And as the digital battlefield unfurled before them, Claire knew one thing with certainty. She wouldn't face it alone. Not Raven, not now, not ever. Chapter 34. Digital Confrontation. The room was dark except for the ghostly glow of multiple monitors. The hum of servers, the quiet whir of the laptop fan, and the low vibration of Raven's presence beside her created a rhythm Claire felt in her bones. Ready? Raven's voice was a low purr, almost brushing against Claire's ear as she leaned close, her shoulder pressing ever so slightly against Claire's. Claire's pulse jumped. As I'll ever be, she whispered, though her voice trembled with a mixture of fear, adrenaline, and something far more dangerous. Together, they dove into the antagonist's digital lair, layers of firewalls, encrypted pathways, and deceptive traps meant to mislead, intimidate, and destroy. Each line of code was a step through a minefield. One mistake, and their identities and lives could be exposed. Raven's fingers hovered over Claire's hands, guiding her movements. Slow, steady, trust me. Claire let herself lean into the guidance, letting the warmth of Raven's body ground her, while the low hum of their synchronized breathing became the only soundtrack she could hear. I trust you, she said, voice tight and intimate, the words carrying more than their literal meaning. A sudden alert flashed red on one of the screens. Claire's heart leapt. They know we're here. Raven's lips curved into a teasing, dark smile. Perfect. Let them know we're not afraid. She brushed her hand over Claire's, deliberately, sending a shiver through her. And neither should you. They worked as one, fingers flying, codes intertwining, digital traps dismantled. Every small victory was punctuated by subtle touches, a hand lingering, a shoulder brushing, a whisper in Claire's ear that made her knees weak. Then, a spike in the network, a retaliatory strike from the antagonist, a near collapse of Claire's regained digital life. Claire froze, the threat immediate, palpable. Raven's hand shot to her cheek, tilting her face up with a force that was equal parts commanding and gentle. Look at me, Claire. You're not alone. Not now, not ever. The intensity of her gaze, the heat radiating off her, made Claire's breath hitch. She nodded, heart hammering, and returned to the keyboard with renewed focus. Together, They dismantled the digital traps, bypassed the final firewalls, and reclaimed the last fragments of Claire's stolen life. The antagonists' defenses crumbled beneath their skill and determination, but the tension didn't leave the room. Not entirely. Raven leaned close, lips near Claire's ear again. "We did it," she murmured, voice husky, "and you were brilliant." Claire felt the heat flare between them, desire coiling tight and dangerous. "We did it together," she countered, a shiver of longing threading through her words. Raven's laugh was low, satisfied, but edged with something more intimate. "Together," she agreed, her hand brushing against Claire's arm in a deliberate, electrifying stroke. The monitors now showed victory, the antagonist neutralized for the moment, but Claire's attention wasn't on the screens. It was on Raven, on the warmth, the danger, and the intoxicating promise that had been building since the first moment they met. "Now," Raven whispered, tilting her head, lips almost grazing Claire's, "we see how much fire we can handle, together." Claire swallowed hard, pulse thrumming, ready for the storm that wasn't just digital. The battle was over, but the tension, the desire, the undeniable connection between them had only just begun. Chapter 35 Breach. The adrenaline from the last victory still thrummed through Claire's veins, but there was no time to savor it. Alarms blared across the monitors, an aggressive counterattack from the antagonist, hitting faster and harder than anything they'd faced. "They're not finished," Raven murmured, calm, her fingers dancing across the keyboard like a conductor commanding a deadly symphony. "Hold steady, Claire. Watch me." Claire's heart pounded, a mixture of fear and thrill twisting in her chest. She mimicked Raven's keystrokes, her mind laser-focused, yet every glance at Raven sent sparks crawling over her skin. That dangerous proximity, the heat radiating from Raven, she was both anchor and storm. A sudden breach warning flashed on Claire's screen. "Oh no, they found a way in," Claire whispered, panic tightening her throat. Raven leaned over her shoulder, breath warm, brushing hair from Claire's temple. "Yes, they're trying. But we're faster. Stay with me." Her hand brushed Claire's, deliberate and electrifying, and Claire's chest tightened, every nerve on fire. Lines of code became their battlefield, each successful bypass a shared victory. Claire's confidence surged not just from the wins, but from the thrill of standing beside Raven, feeling the magnetic pull of her presence. "You're amazing," Claire breathed, fingers shaking slightly as she followed Raven's lead. Raven's lips curved in a teasing smirk. "I could say the same about you." Her hand lingered over Claire's, thumb brushing lightly, sending an almost painful tingle down her arm. "See? You're stronger than you think." Then came a spike, an intrusive script threatening to delete the fragments of Claire's life they'd reclaimed. Panic surged, but so did determination. Claire's fingers flew, counteracting the attack, the surge of adrenaline mixing with the intimate tension pressing between them. "Yes, that's it." Raven's husky whisper was in her ear, every word igniting Claire's senses. "Keep going, Claire. Don't stop." The final lines of code executed perfectly. The threat was neutralized. The breach thwarted. Claire exhaled, sweat prickling her skin, and turned toward Raven, only to find herself caught in her gaze, dark, intense, magnetic. "I can't believe we did it," Claire whispered, voice trembling, not from the digital fight, but from the undeniable heat swirling between them. Raven's hand came up, fingers brushing her cheek with a slow, deliberate intimacy that stole Claire's breath. "Believe it. You were fearless. And irresistible." Claire's pulse hammered. The monitors glowed behind them, victory on the screen, but all she could see was Raven, commanding, beautiful, and utterly dangerous. Irresistible. Claire's voice was barely a whisper, desire threading through the word. Raven's smile was dark, teasing, and so charged it could ignite fire. "Yes, Claire. And don't forget it. Not now, not ever." The digital war had been won, but the war between desire, trust, and longing was just beginning. Chapter 36, Another Close Call. The hum of her apartment felt different tonight, too quiet, too calculated. Claire's fingers hovered over her keyboard, eyes scanning every corner of her digital sanctuary. Every alert, every flicker of light on the monitor, felt amplified. Something was wrong. "Claire, do you feel it?" Raven's voice was low, calm, but there was an edge, a warning wrapped in silk. Claire nodded, though she didn't look up. "Yeah, something's off. I can't pinpoint it." Her pulse was racing, not just from fear, but from the nearness of Raven behind her, close enough that Claire could feel the heat radiating off her. Suddenly, the door to her apartment clicked. Not the usual soft groan of old hinges, this was deliberate. Panic surged through Claire. "Get down," Raven whispered, grabbing her by the arm and pulling her behind the desk in one fluid motion. Her lips brushed Claire's ear, sending a shiver straight to her core. "Stay low. Trust me." Claire's heart thudded painfully as the intruder stepped inside. A shadow in a mask, precise, fast, but Raven moved with lethal grace, intercepting the threat before Claire could even process. "Raven!" Claire gasped, adrenaline and fear mixing with something dangerously intimate. Raven's eyes met hers, sharp and steady. "I've got you. Always." Her hand pressed against Claire's back, grounding her, keeping her safe while her other hand deftly disarmed the intruder. Claire swallowed hard, heat pooling low in her belly as she realized just how close she had been to danger and how fully Raven had shielded her. Every nerve ending felt alive, tingling with relief, adrenaline, and a magnetic pull that was impossible to deny. You saved me," Claire whispered, voice tight, her chest heaving. Raven leaned closer, the heat between them thick, intoxicating. "And I'll do it again. You're not alone in this, not ever." Her thumb brushed over Claire's hand, fingers brushing lightly, teasing, igniting. Claire's breath hitched. Not alone. The words were almost a promise, almost a plea. Her body leaned into Raven's, drawn by the warmth, the power, the undeniable tension that had been building since their first encounter. Raven's gaze softened for the briefest moment before she stepped back, though her hand lingered on Claire's arm. "Rest now. But be ready. They won't stop, and neither will we." Claire exhaled, heart still racing, mind swirling, not from the danger alone, but from the way Raven's presence had set her entire body alight. Trust, desire, and fear had fused into something dangerously beautiful. The digital war had crept into the real world, and Claire knew that with Raven by her side, she was more alive, more vulnerable, and more drawn to her than ever before. Chapter 37, Victory in Fragments. Claire stared at the glowing screen, hardly daring to breathe. Bit by bit, line by line, the pieces of her life were falling back into place. Emails, documents, photographs, each fragment a pulse of proof that she hadn't been erased, that she still existed. Raven's presence was a constant beside her, calm and mesmerizing. She watched Claire with a faint, knowing smile, fingers never stopping as they danced over her own keyboard, protecting, guiding, teasing. "Look at that," Claire whispered, awe and disbelief mingling in her voice. It's all coming back." Raven leaned closer, close enough that Claire could feel the heat radiating from her. Her voice was low, teasing, and dangerous. "I told you, you're stronger than you think. And every piece you reclaim is a reminder, you're unstoppable." Claire's pulse quickened, but not from the victory alone. Raven's nearness was a storm she couldn't resist. Every glance, every subtle brush of fingers, sent sparks racing through her veins. "Unstoppable, huh?" Claire murmured, a shiver curling through her. Her hand brushed against Raven's accidentally, or maybe deliberately, and the contact lingered longer than necessary. Raven's gaze flicked down at their hands, then back to Claire's eyes, dark and magnetic. "Yes, unstoppable. And dangerously irresistible." The words hung between them like a live wire. Claire's chest tightened, a delicious tension curling low in her stomach. She wanted to lean in, wanted to close the gap, but the monitors, the screens, the victory, they demanded attention. But then came the thrill, the digital equivalent of a drumroll, the final piece of a long-lost folder loading successfully, the last trace of her erased identity illuminating on the screen. Relief and triumph surged, raw and heady. Raven's lips brushed against Claire's ear, warm and teasing. See? You did it. All of it. Her breath was intoxicating, her touch electric. Claire's knees felt weak. We actually did it, she whispered, a smile tugging at her lips despite the lingering tension. Raven's hand found Claire's shoulder, fingers curling around her with deliberate strength. And I couldn't have done it without you. You're brilliant and beautiful. Remember that. Claire's head swam, heart thudding, mind caught in a whirl of victory and desire. The digital war was turning in their favor, but the heat between them had shifted into something dangerous, something undeniable. She looked at Raven, and in that moment, the screens, the code, the alarms, they all fell away. All that existed was the electric tension, the victory in fragments, and the magnetic pull between them. Claire exhaled, leaning just a fraction closer, and Raven mirrored her, eyes dark, lips parting in a slow, tempting smile. The fragments of her life were restored, but the fragments of her restraint, her control, and perhaps her heart, were dangerously unraveling. Chapter 38 Confession in the Dark. The screens had dimmed, the alarms silenced. Victory hung in the air, tangible and electric. Claire sat back, exhausted, chest heaving, yet every nerve felt alive, almost painfully so. She could feel Raven beside her, a steady, dangerous heat that radiated like a magnet, drawing her closer even as reason whispered to stay guarded. "You've done more than reclaim your life tonight," Raven murmured, her voice low, almost a purr that brushed across Claire's skin. "You've survived. Thrived." And her fingers traced a ghostly line across the back of Claire's hand, igniting a current that ran straight to Claire's core. "You've fascinated me." Claire's breath hitched, heart stuttering in her chest. Fascinated by her? The thought spiraled, delicious and terrifying. She turned slightly, their faces inches apart, eyes locked. The room was dark, but the pull between them illuminated every shadow, every subtle curve, every charged inch of skin. "Raven," Claire's voice was barely more than a whisper, trembling with desire and fear. "I don't know how to." Raven leaned closer, lips hovering over Claire's, teasing, tantalizing. "Don't think. Feel. That's what matters right now." The words were fire. Claire's hands instinctively rose, fingers brushing along the edge of Raven's jaw, feeling the soft curve, the pulse beneath. Every rational thought dissolved into the heat between them. Raven's gaze softened, dark and hypnotic. "Claire, I've wanted this, wanted you, since the moment you trusted me with your chaos." Her voice was velvet, yet edged with hunger. Claire's chest swelled with something between longing and fear, desire and trust. I've wanted you too." The confession hung in the darkness, like a live wire. Raven's hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing lightly, sending shivers down her spine. "Then stop holding back." Claire closed the gap, lips meeting Raven's in a slow, searing kiss that burned through caution. Their mouths molded together, a collision of fire and restraint, taste and electricity. Fingers tangled, hearts pounded, and the world outside, the monitors, the code, the digital battlefield, all faded into nothing. Raven pulled back slightly, just enough to whisper against her lips. "You're mine tonight. And maybe longer, if you let me." Claire's pulse surged, desire crashing like waves. "I want that. I want you." In the dark, the confession became action. Raven's hands roamed, tentative at first, then urgent, tracing, teasing, claiming. Claire melted into her touch, a mixture of relief, triumph, and burning need igniting every nerve. They stayed entwined, whispers and murmurs punctuating their heated exploration, a symphony of touch and taste that blurred the line between love, lust, and trust. The digital chaos they had survived now paled in comparison to the storm they were creating together. And in the darkness, with danger lingering just beyond the apartment walls, Claire realized something. Surviving the war was nothing compared to surviving the pull of Raven's storm, and she never wanted to resist it. Chapter 39 The Final Hack. The glow of the monitors painted the room in ghostly shades of green and blue. Claire's fingers danced over the keyboard with precision, her pulse synced to the rhythm of the code, the digital heartbeat of the world she had lost and was about to reclaim. Raven sat close behind her, shoulder brushing against Claire's, every movement deliberate, teasing, and charged. Almost there, Raven murmured, lips near Claire's ear, voice a mix of reassurance and desire. One final trace, one final push, and it's yours. Claire swallowed hard, heat pooling low in her stomach at the proximity, at the brush of Raven's thigh against hers under the desk. She focused, tracing every digital signature, every rogue file, every phantom of the erasure. Each line of code was a battlefield, each keystroke a declaration of defiance. Raven, this is it. I can feel it, Claire whispered, leaning back slightly, just enough for their chests to press together. The brush of Raven's arm, her scent, the warmth of her body, it was intoxicating. Raven's fingers skimmed Claire's wrist, guiding, steadying, almost possessive. You've got this. And when it's done, we celebrate. Just you and me. A flicker on the screen caught Claire's attention, a final file resisting recovery. Her brow furrowed, fingers hesitating. A flicker of doubt. It's stuck. I can't. It's not. Raven leaned closer, lips brushing her temple, whispering, yes, you can. Trust me, trust yourself. We do this together. Claire exhaled sharply, heart hammering, and let Raven's guidance flow through her. The code bent to their will. The rogue files fell in line, and the final fragments of her erased identity returned, emails, documents, personal history, financial proof, all restored in a cascade of digital triumph. Yes, yes, Claire cried, relief flooding every nerve. She spun in her chair, facing Raven, and before she could stop herself, she captured Raven's lips in a searing kiss. Raven responded instantly, hands tangling in Claire's hair, pulling her closer. The tension, the fear, the adrenaline of the fight, they exploded into a raw, electrifying connection. They pressed together, hearts racing, bodies a wildfire of desire, both triumphant and undone. You did it. We did it, Raven murmured against her lips, voice husky. And you're incredible. Claire's hands roamed, memorizing curves and lines she had only ever admired from a distance. We should have celebrated sooner, she breathed, laughter and lust threading together. Now, Raven whispered, tilting her head, eyes dark, promising and daring. Outside, the remnants of the antagonist's digital chaos dissolved, neutralized, powerless. Inside, however, the storm between them raged, hotter, sharper, and utterly consuming. Claire knew that nothing, no threat, no stolen data, no enemy, had ever felt so dangerous, so irresistible, as the pull she felt toward Ravenstorm. The screens glowed, the city slept, and in the darkened room, victory and desire collided in an unstoppable, intoxicating crescendo. Chapter 40, Aftermath and New Order. The city outside was quiet, lights flickering softly through the window, unaware of the storm that had raged in Claire's digital life and in her heart. She sank into the chair, exhausted but alive, the hum of the monitors a gentle reminder of what had been reclaimed. Every fragment of her identity, every stolen piece, was back where it belonged. Raven leaned against the edge of the desk, arms crossed, eyes scanning Claire with a dangerous, indulgent intensity. You did it, she murmured, voice low, husky, as if the words themselves carried heat. Not just the files, you did it for yourself. Claire tilted her head, heart still racing, cheeks flushed. We did it, she corrected, though her eyes didn't leave Raven's. There was a pull, a gravity in that gaze that had nothing to do with the code and everything to do with her. Raven stepped closer, slow, deliberate, fingertips brushing along Claire's arm. Maybe, but I've got the feeling I didn't just watch you survive, Claire. I watched you shine. Her lips curled into a teasing, dangerous smile, and Claire's breath caught. Raven, the whisper barely left her lips, loaded with emotion, desire, and awe. Before she could think, Raven closed the space between them, hands cradling her face, lips pressing with the kind of fire that made every nerve stand at attention. Their kiss was slow at first, tasting, teasing, savoring the victory, the tension, the unspoken promise of everything still to come. Then it deepened, urgent and consuming, a culmination of weeks of stolen glances, whispered code, and dangerous flirtation. Claire's hands tangled in Raven's hair, pulling her closer, feeling the warmth, the heat, the steady pulse beneath her fingers. The world outside, the city, the code, the threats vanished. Here, in the darkened room, only the two of them existed, a fragile, fierce equilibrium of trust and desire. Raven's lips traced down Claire's neck, leaving a trail of fire and whispers. This is only the beginning, you know. We've won today, but the world, it never sleeps. Claire shivered, tilting her head back into Raven's touch. Then we face it together, she said, voice firm, yet trembling with excitement and longing. Whatever comes next, we're unstoppable. Raven's hands pressed against her waist, drawing her into a slow, deliberate embrace. Unstoppable and dangerously irresistible, she murmured, and Claire laughed, the sound mingling with the hum of their reclaimed world. Hours passed in the darkened room, a private celebration of victory, desire, and trust. They moved through the aftermath like a dance, sultry, precise, intimate, exploring the new order of their lives together. And as the city slumbered beneath a veil of neon and night, Claire realized something. She had not only reclaimed her life, she had discovered a force she had never known, a fire that burned hotter than any danger or threat. A fire embodied in Ravenstorm. And the world, unpredictable and chaotic, would never be the same again. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.